Hello everybody, Diana here from Wayward Cat Publishing. So I had been thinking about doing some process videos showing how I put my junk journals together, but mostly out of laziness, I haven't done that yet. Then I got a comment on one of my videos, someone asking to see a video about how I put the journal together, and especially asking about the signatures. So I thought I would go ahead and do that. I've already started this journal. As you can see, I've got my signatures made already, and I've got my cover ready for sewing the signatures in. So that's what I'm going to try to do in this video. Sewing signatures is kind of hard, but I've done quite a few, so I think I can do it on film. I'll at least do my best to get one of them sewn in, and hopefully I won't poke myself with the awl like I sometimes do. But maybe it'll be good for a laugh one way or the other. So signatures are basically folded groups of paper. In the bookbinding industry, the signature was a really large sheet of paper with a whole bunch of pages on it, and it was folded in a certain way. And I think it was called a signature because the labels on it, letting the binders know which page it was or something, were called signs. So it was called a signature. And if you look, you can kind of see the signatures in this old book. You can see groups of folded paper. And if you've ever gotten a book where you've opened it up and at the top, the pages are still stuck together a little bit and you have to rip them apart, that's a really cheap binding job. And that's because of how they actually fold the pages to get them into the book. Sometimes they're glued into the spine, and sometimes they are sewn into the spine, like in this book. I talk about this book a lot. It's The Artful Dodger. I use a lot of images from this book. And you can see that it is bound with thread. We'll come to a part maybe in the middle of a signature. If I can find a spot here. Can you see these threads here? You can pull them up. And in fact, what I do is I go through with a seam ripper and I rip those threads out, and then I can lift this entire folded piece out if I want. So that is signatures. You can kind of see some groups of signatures in that book too. So in junk journaling, your signatures are just your groups of folded pages. And this journal is going to have 3 signatures. Some journals can just be 1 signature, like this. This would be a cover for a 1 signature journal. It's 2 pieces of cardstock glued together, and you would just sew in your pages into here, and that's your journal. But then you can cover it with fabric or whatever you want. So maybe in another video, I will start from the beginning and show how I do a cover and everything for it. But this time, I'm just going to try to sew in these signatures. If you're interested in how I put them together, I just start gathering papers, cardstock, decorative paper, tea-dyed papers, book pages. I don't even know what this is. It's probably from some book. Here's some to-do list pages. There's book pages. This is some of that faux rice paper that I make. I just throw stuff together and fold it and make sure it is of a size that will fit inside the cover. It can be that big or smaller. This page is hanging out just a little bit, so I may end up trimming that. And sometimes you might use odd pages. This is a piece of homemade or faux homemade paper. Where's that weird odd bit that I have? Here it is. This is just a piece of packing, or it looks like it might have come from cardboard. I just found it on my desk. I'm not sure. It's left over from something I did. So I made it into a page and a signature. And you fold them together. You decide how many pages you want. This book is going to have 15 pages per signature. And go through them several times and make sure they're in the order that you like. And then I sit down and I ink the front and back of every page. And I look at pages that might be delicate. And if they rip, for example, while I'm inking them, then I know I might want to put some washi tape on the part where I'm going to be poking holes. And if I want to cover a spread like this is from a book, and I wanted to cover the whole one side. I could have just sewn it all in and covered each side as I got to it, but I wanted to do it that way. I go ahead and do that before I sew it in. All right, so I have my signatures, and I know what order I want them. I want first, now I don't know what order. First, second, third. Yeah, I want this. First, second, third. All right, so then I take the cover. This is the inside of the cover. And what I have to do is get a representation of the spine. Now, I could measure it, but because this is junk journaling, these things aren't perfect. So measuring doesn't necessarily work all that well. So what I'm doing is folding it up and creasing it with my fingernail. And now I'm going to cut it. And this doesn't always work. Sometimes I have to do it more than once. Let's see if I can see where the line is to cut that. All right, let's see how that worked. That looks pretty good. Yeah, look at that. All right, that looks pretty good. Now I need to draw where I'm going to cut it off, right there. Oh gosh, I hope I did that straight. So this will be my template. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a signature. I guess I could take all of them. Put that on, right on the edge here. And I'm going to go ahead and label this top. And I am going to put my signatures in here and figure out where I want them. How far away from the top and the bottom do I want them to sit? And when I get them just close enough to how I want them, I try not to be too much of a perfectionist. This is kind of hard to do while you're filming. So I'm just going to do this with one. And I'm just going to lay it like this. I think this will be easier to do for filming. All right. Now that I think about it, I'm not sure how I manage when I'm not. And I mark the top. Oh, it's more like there. The top and the bottom. I draw a little line. So I know that's the top of the signature and that's the bottom of the signature. Yeah, get all this out of the way. Now, I fold it in half, trying to put those two lines together. That looks pretty good. Looks like they are about even. And open it up. And now I'm going to fold it in half this way. And I'm going to have to sit down to do this. I've been standing up to make sure that I'm actually in the camera view. Now fold it this way. And try to just get it as good as possible. So now I have two lines. This is the middle. This would be the middle of the signature. And then this line, because I have 3 signatures, this is the center of the spine. So this will be where the middle signature will go. Now, if you have an even number of signatures, I don't know how to do it. I would just figure it out. So then I want to decide where I want the other signatures to be. And I want them to be kind of close to the top, but not, kind of close to the edges, but not too close. I'm thinking here. And I'm just eyeballing it. I don't have to eyeball it. That's about a centimeter. So then it would be here. Yeah, I had the right spot. So hopefully that will be okay. I don't like the big spaces in between the signatures, and what I usually do is put something in the journal in between the two signatures because I don't like all that space showing. Now I fold it along that line and try to get it straight. Straight at the bottom and straight at the top. And I always try to remember it doesn't have to be perfect. That's good. I see. See, that's not perfect at all. Oh, and I forgot I have to put these lines on it too. So where's my signature? Oops. Now I want to decide where I want my other points to be. So I'm thinking about here. I don't want it to be too close to the top. So that is about, do it on the inches side. That's about a 1/2 inch. So I will go a 1/2 inch from the bottom and put that one there. And those are on that center fold. All right. Now, I think I am going to fold this over this way. So I have these two lines. Make sure that's straight. And then this one, flip that over that way and straighten it up. So now I have the line, and I think I'm just going to eyeball it. Actually, I don't have to eyeball it, right? I said it was about a centimeter, didn't I? It is. So we're going to go centimeter, not bad, and a centimeter is here. And same with this one. Centimeter and a centimeter. So there, those are my holes. All right, now I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to turn it off and pick up the signatures that I dropped on the floor a little while ago and put them back together. And then I will sew them into my cover. Be right back. Okay, I am back. So one of the other things I wanted to do was to mark the top of the cover as well as the top of the template, and mark it over here to the side, not here, because we're going to be doing stuff there. That way you don't get confused. And we're going to mark these 1, 2, and 3. Well, that's a terrible 2. Now, the reason we're marking those is so we don't get confused too. These are 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to start at the back. We're going to start at the back because when we're working on number 2, for example, we want number 3 to be beneath us and not above us. Otherwise, we'd end up turning it around to make it easier, and then everything's all upside down, and we're really going to get confused. So we start from the back. But first, we have to poke our holes. So first I'm going to poke my holes in the cover. Let me get this where I want it. And I'm going to tape it. Luckily, I kind of keep things here. And yeah, the tape might rip a little bit of the cover when I take it off. It's an awfully long piece of tape. Got it. But it's going to be covered. The cover will be covered, probably with fabric, though you can also cover them with cardstock, decorative paper, lace, leather, I don't know, whatever you wanted. All right. Now I got to get my handy book. This is my handy glue book. I use it for gluing stuff and poking holes. So you can see there's little holes in all these pages because I poke holes in it. Where'd I put the awl? There's the awl. Very sharp. But this part's kind of fun. You just poke holes. And you don't go all the way through, but go through enough to where you're going to be able to see the hole when you need to. And this way, because you've made your template, the holes in your cover are going to match the holes in your signature. All right. Nice holes. Let me take this off now. Come on, tape. See, this is the long, boring parts of the videos. Oh, I can play some amusing music during those parts or something. Now, peeled off. All right. I'll just fold that back. Now I'm going to poke them a little bit more. You don't want them too big, but you don't want them super small either. I've got to use a pretty big needle. For one thing, because I use waxed thread and it's pretty thick. And it's easier to get my big needle through the holes. They're still going to be a little bigger, I think. All right, now comes the fun, exciting part. There's the T, that's the top. Start with number 3. This is number 3. All right, here's number 3. Got to try to fold it right on those holes. Am I in the camera at all? Right on those holes, because I want to tuck that down in here. Got our book. Got our signature. Let me make sure I got everything else I need. I want some clips. Clips. I got a big clip. Here's a big clip. And I guess that's it. I will thread the needle when I'm finished. All right. So we've made sure that our signature is the way we want it. If we have any really short pages, we've made sure that they are in a position where they can at least get 2 holes in them. We go to the middle of our signature. We're going to press it down as tight as we can. And then we're going to put this little template in there. And we match up the top line with the top of our signature and the bottom line with the bottom of our signature. This homemade faux homemade paper is not easy to work with. It's pretty weird shape and weird texturing. All right, I'm glad. There's my awl. Now I'm going to poke these holes. Poke there, and then I do the bottom, and then I do the middle one last. And the reason I wait until this point to put my clips in is because I feel like putting the holes in them pinches them closer down at the bottom, much closer than I could do just by pressing them. And so then I clip them, and I put 2 clips in the top and 1 clip in the bottom. That way I can also remember top and bottom, because the next step, I have to take the awl out so that I can get the string ready. I'm going to stick it back in while we're waiting. See? All right. Waxed thread. Probably got it at Amazon. I like to do 3 times. 1, 2, 3 times the height. Some people do 2.5, but I really like having that extra thread to work with. And now comes the hard part. Not just finding where I put the needle, but threading the needle. See, the needle is not a super big headed needle. They have bigger ones, but I don't want to make too big of holes in my signature or in my cover. So I try to flatten this out. Let's see if I can do this in a way you can see it. Look at that. That is the magic of recording, because that rarely goes that well. All right, I am making sure I have number 3. Here's the cover. This is the top. And this is the top. This is number 3. It's in the back. So I'm going to start in the middle hole. And I'm starting from the outside because the knots will be on the outside. If you want the knots and a bow, or you want to tie a knot and hang beads off of the string, if you want it in the middle of the signature, you would go from the signature, from inside the signature to the outside first. Maybe I'll do one of those sometime to show how you do it. All right, so I pull it up a bit like that. Got caught on that. See, I told you, this never really goes super smoothly, but I have seen videos of people doing it, and they're like so practiced at it. They don't have any problems at all. But this is what it's really like. All right, top. 2 clips is the top. I'm going to take my awl out, and now I have to get this needle through this hole. Oh, look, magic. It went all the way through. Sometimes it doesn't go that quickly. And now I have to pull without hurting myself. I did it. Sometimes I get some pliers, and I got to make sure I'm not losing that string in the back. All right. Now I go from the middle to the top hole, which I can barely see, but there it is. And it went through, yay. And I put it through the top hole of the cover and pull that through. And then I go all the way to the bottom and put it through that hole. And now I've got to get it through this hole in the bottom. This is the one that often trips me up because I often don't get it to go through all of the pages of the signature. So sometimes what I do is this. I go back, I find the hole, I poke the awl back through. Maybe give it a little extra push to make it a little bigger. Hang on to it and hope the needle will go through now. There. Did it go through? It did. Yay. Now pull it all the way through. Don't need to get out the pliers this time. Very nice. All right, still got this thread up here. Now, the tricky part. You thought those were the tricky parts. Looks like I can pull some more through. See, I've got that. Let's pull that through a little bit, and then this through a little bit, and that gives me a little more to work with. Putting it through the center hole, I don't want to put it into this thread. You won't be able to tighten it if it goes through this thread. I've done it before and managed to get it out of that thread, but sometimes I just have to start over. So I'm trying to put it next to that thread in the hole. And of course, I don't want it to go through the thread on the other side either. All right, I'm going to get the pliers out. And I have to say, sometimes I've accidentally made a new hole. I don't want to do that. All right, I think I'm going to use the awl again. I see the hole, go through the hole. It makes perfect sense. The hole's right there. It should go right through. Let's try again. Needle in the hole. In. There we go. Now I should try to go right through. Don't want to lose that thread. Right through this hole. And again, you don't want it to go through that thread. Ta-da! I have done it. Now, you want one of these on either side of this. So I'm going to put that through there. And then you want it really tight. So you gotta pull on it. Pull. And because this is waxed thread, it'll stay fairly tight as you pulled it. And then I'll check in here and make sure that seam's nice and tight. I don't see any loose threads, but look, it has loosened up already. Pull that tighter. Tighter. It's gotta look tight back here too. All right, I'm gonna tie the knot. Let's see if I can do it while it's over there in the camera. All right, tie the knot. And then I'm gonna tie another knot. I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. Then I sew in the other signatures, and I'm gonna do that off camera. Oh, I don't know, it doesn't matter if you wanted to watch me. But what I do is after I sew in the signatures, I work with the book for a while and make sure they don't come loose. And if they do come loose, I have to pry open that knot and pull them tighter and try to make sure that they are as tight as I can possibly get them. All right, so I think what I will do is I will speed up the rest of the video of me putting in the other signatures so that you can just watch that and I don't have to yak during it. All right, wish me luck that I don't poke myself in the finger. All right, there you have it. They are sewn in, and you saw I showed the parts in between that I don't like. So it's possible that this could have had 4 or 5 signatures. Let's see what the size of this spine is. Oh, I'm always doing centimeters. Yeah, we're looking at about a 1¼ inch. And for a 1½ inch spine, I would do 5 signatures. So this could have had more signatures, but what I will do is, I gotta find the top. This is the top. What I like to do is put stuff in there. I put tissue paper, tea bags, fluff, ruffles, lace. You could add booklets in there. I have actually made booklets. I don't know, I had an example here, but you make a booklet and you just glue it in or sew it in. I have actually sewn booklets in, but I make that decision before I do the next step. Actually, it's not the next step. The next step is working with this the way it is. And the reason I work with it the way it is because if these stitchings are going to loosen up, I want to know about it. I want to know about it before I glue this down, because my step after that is, after I'm sure that these are really tight, is I'm going to put or glue down a piece of burlap. I'll trim these and then glue a piece of burlap down on top of those. And that will hold everything nice and tight, I hope. And then I will put my cover on. So for a while, I will be working with this book like this. And then I will check on those stitches and make sure they're nice and tight before I do the rest of my cover. So that is sewing in signatures. I didn't poke my fingers once. I'm so excited about that. I'm so glad. Well, I hope you got an idea of how to do that. There's a name for this kind of stitch that I used, but I don't know what it is. And I hope you are ready to try it on your own. It's not that hard, and if you make a mistake, it's just paper. You can just try it again. Thanks for watching. I hope you got some inspiration, and I will see you next time.